Hi, and welcome to Random Rogers Big Picture for the week of September 28th. Almost the end of the quarter. Just a couple more days to go. Crazy week in terms of news, the extent to which we're, the world maybe the world, I don't know, held hostage to what's going on in Congress. There's some, pretty petty stuff, a whole lot of bickering. Neither side looks good. Regardless of your politics, both sides look pretty bad on this. Really just one thing on the agenda, which is kind of a little bit of pre-planning, kind of thinking ahead in case something happens. And this is triggered by the Mark Faber interview on Erin Burnett's show in the middle of the day. First of all, if you saw it, did anyone know what that T-shirt he was wearing was? It was let's see, if that was 11 o'clock Arizona time, that was a 2 in the morning call. So you gotta, is that right? 2? No, it was 11 in the morning, 11 at night. So you gotta tip your hat to him. It was 11 o'clock at night. But if anyone knows what that T-shirt he was wearing, please send, let us know. Anyway, he touched on one thing that Erin did not pursue, but that I've seen him write about or talk about elsewhere before. He talked about, and it really was very quick, okay, but he believes the U.S. government is going to ban or outlaw or whatever owning gold. Okay, that's, probability is quite low. Let me just say that. And I'll get into probabilities in a second. But that is some pretty serious stuff. That's happened before, where there are restrictions on gold or foreign currency. And, expanding on his thought, he also thinks that at some point we get restricted from owning foreign currency. So foreign currency and gold, we're not going to be able to hold. Let me just be crystal clear. I do not expect that to happen. Period. The short sale ban, temporary though it may be, is kind of one step on that path, but it's just a tiny little step as opposed to what he's talking about being way, way, way down the road. But if that happens, if he turns out to be right on that, and I just can't imagine he will be, that creates some serious implications about just all sorts of, truly societal things. Well, financial things, not societal. Financial things, I don't think societal. And if you hear news about that, I don't think that in and of itself is going to trigger a crash. Like, the news were to break and then all of a sudden the market's down a bunch in one day. But that would be a call to make some meaningful changes. I mean meaningful within the portfolio. Raise a lot of cash, and I'm not so sure that owning double short in the manner in which I've talked about to neutralize, I'm not sure that is necessarily something that would work very well. A ban on currency may or may not include, I have no idea since it's off in the distance and probably not going to happen, but that may or may not include currency ETFs. If it did not include currency ETFs, I would probably buy more of those. I would probably load up on short-term debt from anywhere that I could. But really move out of equities. He talked about holding on to equities because although those would be, down a lot, and this is a point he made in Barron's a couple of weeks ago, although they would be down a lot, they might have more value than cash. That one's a little lost on me because it is denominated in dollars, and dollars have literally no value. I don't see the point. Unless he's talking about foreign stocks, but he never made that differentiation on the interview and in the Barron's piece. But that would be some serious stuff. Vietnam has done some things along the way there, and Vietnam has its problems, but the difference there, and maybe that's a watch-out situation, the fact that I'm even saying it's different, but the watch-out or the difference there is that Vietnam is a company trying to figure out capitalism on the way up. If we end up banning owning gold and foreign currencies, that is a company that already, quote-unquote, figured out capitalism and now is in the middle of a serious decline. And that is a different circumstance. for all I know, the outcome could end up being the same, although I don't believe that it will be the case. But that would be a real game changer. I've been talking all along about how I believe this will end up being a normal bear market, the decline somewhere in the range of normal, despite all the news, and the news is different in a way. The action of the stock market is not different. That may become the case, and I'm not going to change my opinion. I'll just end up being wrong. Predictions, being wrong about predictions or right doesn't really have much consequence either way. What matters more is the action that you take. I've been talking ad nauseum about the action I've taken, which is far more important than being right about predictions. But this is kind of on the horizon to me. It's in terms of talking about possibilities and probabilities. I assign this essentially no probability, but in the realm of possibility, if it happens, why not have some vague notion now, long before we get to that point, of what you might do? And I would probably give up on the U.S. stock market and one way or another try to figure out how to own cash and short-term debt and some sort of commodity derivative. Of course, I would also add, probably a good time to load up on what am I going to say? Whiskey, beef jerky, and shotgun shells, of course. All right, pretty short this week, I believe. Just about 6 minutes or so. Not to be too gloomy, because I don't assign this any realistic probability, but it makes sense to vaguely know what you might do, and really that's I'm talking in very vague terms, but that pointedly would be a trigger point for meaningful change, something that is unambiguously out of the ordinary, and that would be a cause for substantially different action, which is not what I've been talking about all along. I've been working in the context of a normal bear market, and that would absolutely be a game changer. I would absolutely be wrong if we ever got to that point, because I don't expect it to happen. Alrighty, next week I'll do the kind of the quarter recap. Actually, reader question. I think it was Rick, but whatever. Someone asked how much double short I have. I've not bought more double short in ages. I mean, months and months and months. But I looked midweek, and it had grown to something close to 5% of the portfolio, maybe a little bit more. It had been, I've been talking about 2 and 3% with this last flush down in the last few weeks. It ratcheted up closer to probably a little above 5%. I can talk about numbers like that in the context of a video of giving a speech. I can't put that in print, but I'll spell more of that out in next weekend's video when I go over the quarter. Alrighty, have a good weekend.